let's just turn to Ukraine, where, of course, millions of people, some of the figures suggesting that between 8 and 10 million people have left Ukraine to try and escape the war, the proxy war, which NATO and the West has unleashed there. And, of course, those people suffering in their migration, but also causing problems in the new host nations. But we're not really hearing much about the war. Well, why not? Look to social media. Now, these are just some of the reports from one of the channels reporting on a daily, sometimes hourly basis, Weeb Union. Look at the headlines: multiple assaults west of Bakhmut, collapse of Ukraine, Ukraine doomed, winter is here. Now, in addition to that channel, there's many others: the military summary channel, Rybar, Free Russia, Defense Politics Asia, Moon of Alabama, and of course you've got Colonel Douglas McGregor and Scott Ritter putting out really good commentary. But even the BBC has had to admit to some of the truth now, because this is from their buried stories, because Ukraine is a problem. Ukraine war, soldier tells BBC of frontline hell. Outnumbered and outgunned, one frontline soldier has given a sobering account of Ukraine's struggle to cling onto its foothold on the east bank of the vast Dnieper River. And this is, of course, a very small foothold. It's of no real significance, but the BBC's tried to have made it at certain stages into a major advance. Let's look at the bottom of those headlines, which was talking about Mr. Stoltenberg. And here's the headline from Politico: NATO should be ready for bad news from Ukraine. Stoltenberg warns we have to support Ukraine in both good and bad times. Well, what's the meat of this? I've added some commentary here, so this is not entirely Politico report. But basically, Ukraine has not only failed to regain territory, it has lost the war. This is the harsh reality which Stoltenberg, NATO and the BBC don't want to talk about. NATO and the EU are unable to produce the ammunition Ukraine needs to continue to fight due to, quote, the fragmented state of Europe's defence industry. That quote is from Stoltenberg himself in the article. US and European sanctions on Russia have completely failed. UK columns had to add that quote because it's not in the article. Russia is currently boosting its army by 170,000 to 1.3 million. That is in the Politico article. The EU and Europe is unable to work together politically to support Ukraine, and it can't do that now or in the long term. That is not really fully explained in the Politico article. And here, Ukraine and its economy has been hollowed out by horrific battlefield losses. And there we have the war migration. So this is the reality. The war is essentially over. If the US and NATO and the EU would stop pumping in the weapons, that would be the end of it. But critically, the US, UK, and the EU know the war is over. So what is the routine now? Well, we get some hints to it because it's being widely reported that the Americans are now backtracking on any more money for Ukraine to keep its economy going or the war itself going. And Zelensky pulled out of a recent meeting where he was clearly going to be asking for more money from the States. But then we have this happening. This is New York Post. Zelensky turning Ukraine into authoritarian state just like Russia, says Kyiv mayor in shocking interview. And what's going on here? Well, this is the West now meddling in internal Ukraine politics in order to unseat Zelensky. And if I make this really simple, what we've got going on here is the US, UK, NATO and the EU starting the process of regime change in Ukraine. And they are going to undermine Zelensky by what is reported in the press, stirring up trouble and calling for elections. And of course, the overall aim is that Zelensky has to go, because until he goes, the US, UK, NATO and the EU cannot close down that side of the war and admit defeat. But of course, you're not going to see these reports on the BBC. You will have to look to alternative media for the up-to-date and correct reports.
Debbie, let's end with a couple of memes. Yeah, thank you so much to Peter, who sent me these. Why is the government spying on every person in the country? Sounds to me like they're a bunch of paranoid conspiracy theorists who are afraid of their own citizens. I agree. And if we were really wrong about them, they wouldn't need to censor us. How true.
Indeed. And you have a little bit of video from COP28.
Oh, I'm sorry, everybody, but I just had to give the last word to the one and only Bill Gates.
I'm here in Dubai. This is COP28, very, very important meeting. The issue of health and climate will be discussed at length. That's never gotten the attention it deserves. The issue of food systems and how with climate change, a lot of farmers aren't able to grow their crops, which is a tragedy for them. We'll talk about using innovation to absolutely solve that problem. And a lot of great young companies are here, and the big companies will come. We'll see a lot of partnerships that come out of this. So it's a good milestone in a very big challenge.
What can we?
Over to you, Mike.
What can we say?
No comment.
Truly horrible clip. Who is that man? The faster he's out of global politics, the better. I believe he's immensely dangerous. And I think many people in our chat box have got similar opinions. We better leave it there. We're going to say huge thank you to our audience today, and a huge thank you to people who are supporting the UK column financially, because we can only do what we do with your financial support. And we're very much looking forward to 2024, where we want to expand more. And we can only do that with your ongoing support and help. So thank you very much if you're already donating or a subscriber to UK Column. We'll end there. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.